That's not good. All right, give me a second. Uh,
Can you hear me? Anyone? Oh, don't tell me I broke it. Okay. Can you hear me? Anyone? Oh, you can't hear me now. Yeah. Did I blow it? Can you hear me? Did I change something? Anyone? Okay. We can hear me. Awesome. Jesus. All right. Hold on. Okay. I assume things are going okay. Okay. We're live. Okay. That's a big bonus. Sorry, we were playing with streaming settings earlier and trying to trying to figure it out is a wee bit of a nightmare. Okay. Well, I will just assume. Boom. Everybody. Um, okay. So I think I am streaming to other things as well. Um, to my channel and then to Facebook and YouTube. For those guys out there who don't know, Twitch is just Twitch, right? You just go to Twitch and it's a streaming site. And then right now we're going to Pixelogic. So that would be the easiest way to join in and get questions answered if you want to answer questions. I'm sorry, I'm kind of a disaster at the moment. We just got it set up. I think everybody's streaming okay. So, yeah. All right. So, today we are going to watch me fix these models. Yay! We have a few things we need to fix so these models can print. And so, well, no, oh no, it's Wittelsbach. So what we will do today is fix this model. I have a handful of models I have to go over there, just some thin spots. Casting and the materials we're casting, I had to do a few changes because their wax injector is not wonderful. And so I have to make it easier to produce. So today we are making these models easier to produce for if you don't have a really good wax injector, like a Riachi, which is a vacuum overpressure, models like this can create some problems because a lot of my models are thick to thin, the thick to thin, the thick to thin, which if you're using a standard wax injector, that could be a pain in the, yeah. And so what I've done, I need everything to be at least 0.8 mil thickness for the wax injector to be able to fill it efficiently. And so all I've done is gone back from the original design, and I'm just boosting things up at the moment. So right now, we are just thickening. We'll re-dynamesh this in a minute and make sure you can see that by stretching this, I've sort of distorted the mesh where it's not so good. And then we're going to thicken these areas up just a little. And you can see I'm not being super picky here because all I need to do is bump it out a couple tenths of a mil. I want to leave some airspace in there just because I like the look of it. Excuse me. So how was our week? Anybody do anything wonderfully exciting over the last week that I should know about? And once again, I tried to sort of pre-set up my Twitch page, but unfortunately, I didn't read directions, and it's not just intuitive. So my Twitch page is going to be up and running at some point here within the next week or so. And then hopefully I'll do some streaming from there as well. All right, so let's see. It's a little over 8. That's right on the borderline. That's over mil. Okay. How close is it? All right. Drop that. So these are all okay. I'm just gonna fill them up a little just so we have some good flow through. And I'll fix these intersections once we use your head, boy. Once we dynamesh, so those where they're overlapping right now won't be such an issue after a dynamesh. Oh yeah, good luck. I'm just trying to render anything in Keyshot. It's intuitive, it's simple. It's just metal's really tricky to render well. And you have to get like good environments and try to figure out reflective stuff. So I feel like Keyshot is, well, I can't say it's a struggle because I barely used it. I'm producing better renderings than I ever did in V-Ray. But I was a V-Ray idiot. I couldn't get that friggin' thing to work for me to save my life. Everything I did just looked dark gray and dumb. All right, let's see. Okay. That looks better, I guess. And so these are issues you get, like if we were doing this through our shop, I wouldn't have problems with this filling because we use something called a Riachi wax injector, and it does vacuum overpressure. So it'll vacuum the mold out, and then it will overpressure the wax into the mold. So you wind up getting things that are sort of harder to work on. You can get to work pretty well. Let's show parts. And I'm often asked about the Dynamesh resolution. Normally I just start at 120. I don't know why this is set to 80. We will see if it's okay. Dynamesh. Oh, so that went to 600,000. Okay, we'll just divide it. I'm gonna have to go back over some of this anyway, so I'm not gonna stress too much about that. Once again, if you're watching on any of the other stream feeds, I didn't get the little message thing set up. Well, I might have. I think we did. But it's much easier if you go over to Twitch and just join up into the Pixelogic stream. If you don't know what Twitch is, it's a streaming website or streaming service. It's mostly games, or a lot of games, but now they're allowing creative, so it's kind of nice. All right. You got to remember this is going to be this big, so a lot of the stuff I'm not going to sweat. I'm just primarily shooting for good flow. Do that. All right. All our balls, those will be fine. These are a little sloppy. Let's clean this up. These are the new earrings we're doing. And it's been an interesting project because we're trying to make things that are very affordable but still have really good design, because most of the things that are affordable happen to be cheap, and I'm not really into cheap, so we're seeing what we can do here. All right, let's hide this. These are fine. We can do that. Let's work on this pretty clearly and cleanly. Let's just punch these. The other thing I discovered about Keyshot was I was decimating my models too small. So there's a lot of surface noise just from the decimated geometry. So you definitely have to make a rendering model and a production model, because the production at the decimation, the surface noise at the level of decimation that you need for the printers is a little low, so you wind up getting some vicarious noise. I rebooted it recently, so I have to do all this again. There it is. Awesome. No, well, I got a new mic, but I didn't realize that I needed to get a mic cable. So Shane suggested a mic, and got one, but it's not perfect, so I'm still using a razor. Is that okay? It's a little... Come on. I think that's okay. So I'm trying to prep myself to at least do this somewhat right, because I think I enjoy streaming quite a bit, because, well, I don't really have to do anything to do it. It's what I'm doing anyway. I like that idea. Is it coming in from that? If it is, I'm very confused. Now, crap. Okay, so I don't need my headphones. Well, here, let's do this. Can you still hear me? Can you hear me now? And it sounds clear? It's nice? It's okay? Rad. Okay. That's okay. Everybody calm down. Well, that's good. Great. I'll give that, what is it, the Logitech 920 or whatever. It's a great camera. That's awesome. Well, if I would have known that, look. All right, well, at least that means after the 9 hours last week, my poor ears got beat up. Yeah, I imagine you're hearing the machine. Sorry, let's try this for a bit. I mean, I don't know what I did. I'll have to go through my settings and figure out. I apologize for any background noise. Hopefully by the next time, I have the other speaker and we'll sort it out. Everyone knows I'm new to this, and for someone who makes a living off of technology, I really am a bit of a ding-dong. So I'm just going to go back over these dots and punch them up so they'll live through polishing. Right? Just look off to the side. They have good separation. Once again, I'm not too stressed about it because let's face it, you know, these things are like a millimeter. You know, these guys are nothing in size, so you can see it's not quite. The problem is these are not symmetrical. So let's just flatten those out and do them again. No. Snap, let's go trim front, get rid of these bad boys. And then I find when doing dots, either you can use the form brush and turn it on 100, get it down, nope, not that far down, and change our focal shift. Turn the alpha on to make them a little bit rounder. Squeeze one in there. And what this does, and just go back and smooth them. And then that gives you a nice area to inflate. And if you do it off of something that's sitting just a touch off the surface, you get sort of a little cutback. See the little cutback, and that separates it off the surface a little more. But also I tend to just re-smooth them, come back in and inflate off of the rounds, and that'll give you a nice sort of little half roundy thing going on there. All right. Right there. Right. Dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun. Oh, I had polish on when I dusted. So you can see how it's sort of softened all these lines. When I polished it, we'll turn polish off. And let's go back in and just kick these into sort of a shape. And these ridge lines just sort of act like contour lines. They provide places for the sulfur to rest, and then that allows you to see the stuff a little better in the actual part. Come back in, dynamic, and pinch these up. I'll often take inflate, turn it down some, and use it in the negative, and it creates nice, soft dents. I like them. It gives you a nice, soft, round separation. Now we're just going to go back in here and punch these in. So they're going to be a little darker. That polish softened a lot of that out. Right? Okay. Go back in. Shoot. So, then we just grab that, line it up, and it's at 0.9, so that's more than enough. I think that's my thinnest one. Show part. All right, so that's ready. Let's go back here and make sure. Yeah, these were a little thin on the original one, so merge down. Okay. Everybody's good. Double check the back here. I bumped a bunch of this stuff up, so we're just gonna go back and double check. Looking good. Just go back in here and get these lines kind of pumped up so they'll catch a little light in the back. Okay. Alrighty. What is this? That's nothing. I shall delete it. And we'll rename this back to 1090 because that is our part name. Ta-da! Alright. So that guy is done and ready for casting. This one's going to be a pain in the butt a little. These got thin. See, I thought I was being clever. You make things nice. It was actually bigger, so we didn't have this problem, but we shrank the size and I didn't bother thickening anything up. So I have an odd feeling these are going to be not good at all. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, that's going to be an issue. Let's see. This piece might just get a little bigger. You go into 3D Print Hub, update size ratios, 51. All right. Y center. Scale. Just make it a little bigger. L. No, that's a pain in the butt. Okay, bad idea. All right. So that's a little frustrating. This one's going to lose a lot of its character, unfortunately, I think. Let's relook at this again. All right. So this one's going to be a little weirder only because we have to make these substantially thicker. Let's see what we have here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. These are the size of minimums we need. So what to do? Where's our back? Oh, it's the same on both sides. I forgot. Okay. Kind of a drag because this is really cool and open. But I don't think we're going to get away with a rotation anymore. Seven. Okay, so first of all, this is 7. Okay, so that's center of the world. Let's see if we can pull this off. I'm not guaranteeing anything. Let's. Did that change anything? No. It's still center of the world. This might be a futile effort, but we're going to give it a shot. And we're just going to move this up. Even if we're close, we'll be able to futz with this. So let's see. So I am 2. I need to come down some more. Okay. That's looking pretty good. Okay. So we now have to make these substantially thicker. They have to be this thick, but I want to keep those lines somewhat in the same vein. So we're going to come to the middle and just kind of add a ridge here. And that will boost up the thickness of the part, but it'll allow us to retain this bright edge here. As long as there's the ability of metal flow, we're okay. Let's look at that. Okay, now. Red wax solves all problems. All right. And let's fill this up. This is kind of sad because it's going to fundamentally change the silhouette, which is a little sad, but that's okay. Because when you start to make thousands of something, it's better just to design it for the process. And, you know, I'm often at, like I said, if we were using a Riachi wax injector, these wouldn't be such a problem. It's just they're not. Because any vacuum over pressure casting machine will be able to deal with these. But unfortunately, the waxes are where we're running into issues right now. Yeah. And that's why when a lot of people ask questions like what are the right numbers or what are the minimums, and it completely depends on who's doing your work and what processes they're using. So there are no easy answers for some of that stuff. Like I said, under normal circumstances, there should be no problem with these models. But because we're casting them in a different material that's a little bit less fluidy and it's not quite so nice to cast in, we are stuck fixing our model. You're gonna take a video recording of that and hold it against me for the rest of my life. Tomas said red wax solves all problems. I'm pretty sure it's true. So we just want to make sure we're getting interesting silhouettes. Since I have to change the silhouettes, we'll just make sure that they're not horrible. It doesn't bother me so much. And with the radial, you're not getting symmetry here and here, so you're just playing with it. But for this kind of stuff, I'm not worried in any way, shape, or form about it because it's going to as long as I have nice silhouettes, I'm not too stressed about it. Like here, we're going to bring this in and knock this back a little. Maybe we'll just bring these up a little, just so it's not a clunky shape. Right? We want these to sort of work together. And if they're going to be that close, they kind of have to react to each other. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is part of the new earring line Karen and I are working on. She was like, let's do earrings. I was like, okay. Who am I to say no? Right. Alright, these are not quite as appealing. Okay. And now let's double check our thickness. This is our thickness here, so these should be fine, but it's always good to check. Yeah, right over a mil, that's fine. So those have been thickened up okay. These are a little thin. And I'm just going to add my nice little flow channel in there, just give it some width. Give it some width. Come on. And we'll just smooth that back a touch. And now we're just going to fill this in a bit. Because I'm working radial, I have to go back and forth between the two sides. And now we'll just thicken this up. Dying over here. Give a little dynamic to that so it's not just flat and fluid. Okay. This side needs a little more meat, it seems. Yep. That's close, but if we have any shrinkage, it's coming. Okay. And then we have to beef this up. And I think I'd rather do it in here. Hold on, shift. Nope, that's not at all what I want to do. Ah, yeah. That was not clay tubes. Move. Give us a little point there. And that's well over our needed volume. So we will fill it in. Changes the character a little bit, not too much. So those need to get thicker. Oh, goodness gracious, those need to get quite a bit thicker. Okay, fine. We'll fill them in. If anyone is watching on YouTube, Facebook, or one of the other streams, if you want to ask questions, come over to Twitch. I haven't quite mastered the setup on streaming yet, and I'm not getting any. If you're typing anything in, I'm not seeing it. I assume I'm still streaming on those other things. We were a few minutes ago. Okay. Let us. While we're saving, just double check over here. Facebook. We are streaming on Facebook, YouTube. Okay, live now. Awesome. That's good news. All right. Yeah, guys. So hold on. Sorry, everybody gets to be patient with me for one more second. let me take this, copy. Everybody calm down. All right. Okay, posted the link up there. Okay, we're done saving. I do have my own Twitch channel. I don't, all of the it's all of this stuff I have yet to figure out how to put in there and the schedules and stuff. So my Twitch channel is pretty plain at the moment because I haven't taken the time to set it up. I've still been pretty busy trying to get some things done. So I haven't had the time to actually get my Twitch channel nice. But hopefully that is going to change very soon because I like streaming. And yeah, there it is. All right, so that's a little clunky, but we're going to live with it. Let's split this. I think these are different groups. Yeah. Oh, we have too many different groups. Okay. Auto group. Okay, far better. And now let's split the group, or group split. And now we will Dynamesh this. Once again, I have no idea what it's going to Dynamesh out as, so we're just going to try 128 first, see what it does. No, actually, this is the pieces that I've been designing for a new line of earrings. I don't know if you've seen my Instagram. Oh, 7 million, so that's too high. Let's go back down and do 90. See what it does. And if we lose too much detail, all we'll do is duplicate it and Dynamesh it, divide it. Oh, we're at 6 million. That should have held everything fine. Yep. All right, so now we come back in. I sort of lost this form while I was doing the adding up or dividing up. We just want it to kind of be a nice clean line. And you can see I'm sort of ignoring the stuff back in here because this is the line that's going to be reflective on top. So you can sort of hide your thicknesses by making sure you have a clear graphic on the surface. Yeah. SK cloth. I like the weight on the SK cloth, and it just lets me come in and give a nice little bulb there, and then cut a little line in, highlight that edge, and that'll read nicely. Well, hopefully it'll be on our website, which isn't built yet. Right now we're in the middle of, like, we did a first production run, or a first test run, and a handful of these pieces were just a little too thin for their waxer. The castings were fine. It was the wax injector that wasn't cutting it. They were having a lot of failures with the wax because these were down at like 0.6 mil. And unfortunately, they wanted more. So that's what we're doing, at least at the beginning of today, is coming in and fixing these. See how that's a weird shape? I'm just trying to sort of have these finished. So these are pointing at this guy over here, right? And so you'll sort of have a return there. Keep your eyes kind of going where we want them to, getting nice shapes in there. All right. And see, that's not quite so sloppy. Okay, we might be close. Wow. All right, let's take a look. One. That's the bottom of it. We'll fill that up just a touch more. And I think everybody else is okay. And so I'm just gonna fill this up so we have plenty of flow. Well, if it counts for me touching it, then yeah, I think it's tweaked. TW stands for, it's my initials, so that way I know that I've done settings that are not standard. So I know that that brush is sort of prepped to do what I want it to do. It's just, all right, so smooth. Get rid of some of that noise. Let's flip this. Smooth. And here, once again, we'll just grab move and kind of give us a point here. We'll just tap it around. So it's sort of a heart. Isn't that touching? A little heart. I know. Okay. Not looking bad. We'll just do a little swipe across. And that gives us sort of nice square flat points here. Okay. Sharpen these lines up. Okay. I'm gonna, no, twist won't work on this one. Well, just SK cloth, once again, is a nice brush that has a little gravity to it. So you can come in and sort of quickly give yourself a little reflection edge. Ooh, didn't like that, did it? And see how it's making that like little round edge? That'll reflect light nicely. Just a little wonky. You gotta remember this is this big again, so you can't stress too much about it. Let's actually fill this rounder, a little rounder. Really, who did it? The ZBrush ring, that is. Because a few years ago, there weren't many of us doing jewelry. So at the moment, we're not just doing a graphic, we're just trying to fill this in a little more so there's plenty of room for the flow to get down and in there. Good evening. Monkey ring. Nothing better than a monkey ring. I like monkeys. All right. We will take this, turn our zoom intensity down some, turn off the animate, take our size down some. All right, we'll do the same here. Just get these points a little deeper. Get these points a little deeper. So if you notice, I'm using SK Carve because it sort of has a flat bottom profile. So when I come in here, it's sort of separating. It's not just a V edge in there. Like Slash provides a really nice sharp line. That's way too strong. Provides really nice sharp lines where the you see how these continue to go down, where if we're using the carve, it gives us nice flat bottom line, so it sort of separates a little more, so you get good clean separation of stuff. You guys always hear me saying that don't draw detail in, you know, carve it in, but I'm at this point at the end where I can come back in and just with one of these punch these details down into, so we know that we're getting what we want, just getting enough depth in there that it's going to read. Okay. All right. Get that transition back in there. Right. So let's see. Oh, I'm a big old dummy. Right. That's plenty thick. Make sure, whoa, everybody calm down. Go back. No. There we go. Turn X off. Let's get in here. See, that's still thin. Because I need that to be 0.8. Make sure to hold down Shift when you're doing this, otherwise you'll get an angle like this and you're not measuring right. So just touch, hold down Shift and drag. You can also tell if you're off some because see how this transpose guide is smaller than this, so you know that you're actually sitting, you're looking at it falling away. Hey, hey, hey. There she is. Alright, so we need to fill this in a little more. Arg! These are going to be so ugly. They were so cute. But now they're going to be fat. Nope, we don't want buildup. We want clay tubes. Alright. Actually, Ash, I have, so the other day I was downtown and there was this homeless dude, like obviously homeless, you know, and I guess someone had given him a loaf of bread, and he was throwing a tantrum, stomping on the loaf of bread. He was not amused. I think he wanted money, not bread. And someone gave him bread, and the first thing I thought of was, oh my God, I need to take a video so I could show Ashley stomping videos. But we were in the car, and I didn't get the opportunity to take the video. But you were on my mind, bread stomping. All right. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come. Oh, I turned that off. X. Crimey, how many things did I not do with X? Whatever. I'm coming in here and I'm just going to have these touch. And that's going to allow the flow to increase dramatically through these. You won't get cavitation or, you know, where these hit, this will fill a little nicer. It makes me sad, but that's okay. Fair enough. You're right. I'm being very judgmental of the homeless person. That was my bad. I apologize. Not trying to be a classist. I have to be sure I'm not trying not to be either, if we really got down to it. Okay. Well, these are not all the same. Oops. I know everyone's excited about watching me finish pieces, but this has to happen. These have to go to the factory, so you get models. Okay. And Kona coffee, indeed. Oh, I have to show you my Christmas present. It was pretty rad. So I don't know if you guys have the same problems I do, but like I drink a lot of coffee, and like I'll sit here and be working, and I totally forget I have my coffee, and then you reach over and your coffee's all cold and crappy, and it's really frustrating. And I got one of these little guys. It's an ember. You see it has a little light. This thing keeps your coffee warm, like as long as it comes with like a little tray. And I guess off the tray it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours of charge, but you just keep setting it on your tray and it'll keep your coffee the same temperature all day. I don't know if that excites you guys as much as it excited me, but I was super stoked. Okay. I don't see any thin places. I'm thinking. I think these are thick enough. Yeah. I could use a little more beef on the inside. Alright, fine. We're just going to connect these two. That's easy. Well, maybe not. I don't want them connected, but... What are we thinking? And to all those jewelers out there who are like, well, you gotta measure. Well, we know roughly what things are. Let's just do it. Everyone's all caught up. We call it CAD mind. Everyone's all like, oh, CAD, I need a measurement. Yes, I'm making fun of all you guys. Not really. I'm just saying get over it. Okay. Not as fun, but it'll do, pig. All right, merge down. Okay. Merge down. Okay. Now we go to our next one. Now this one's going to be a pain in the butt. So we're going to, all these are too thin. So we're going to go to a different thing. And I think we have to redynamesh this. This is only 100,000 polys. Dynamesh. That's nice. Yeah, I seem to, well, I'm myopic and I sit there and I stare at something and then I totally forget what the hell is going on, and yeah, it just becomes a nightmare. So they're telling me, oh, that's annoying. What happened here? This is ugly. Holy crap. How could I have left this to leave my house? All right. Oh, how many was this? X. Let's get rid of this first. We're going to have to go through and smooth everything because I took this from a decimated model. And I don't want that surface texture for rendering. So we're going to do this. Control W, make it its own thing. Now we click this and we get only what we're working on. And if I remember right, this is 36. Z36. But unfortunately, I have made this not a circle. Isn't that great? So we don't get to cheat and do circle rotation here. We get to go to X. XZ. Is this in the center of the world? Okay. All right. We're just going to do a quick smooth by here because the decimation trashed this, at least to this level. I'm just using a light pressure. All right. So now let's look at what our thicknesses are. All right, so those are a wee bit on the thin side. So that means this stuff is okay. Get rid of some of that noise and get rid of the noise in here. Get rid of noise in here. We're going to come back and go over all that crap, so I'm not too stressed about it right now. I just want to get it out of the way. And this is a prime example of what I mean by you're going to have to go over crap repeatedly, so don't stress out about it. Don't be afraid to take your chances and just get nice, good lines and curves. And you're going to do them, undo them all the time. So, all right. So let's get rid of this stuff. Right. Yeah, so I'm kind of hoping to start streaming on from my page this week. We'll do a test run later in the week, I think. Like I said, I opened Twitch and looked at profile, and that is not where you add all the verbiage on your page. So I have to do a little research and figure out how to make a Twitch page. Well, I have one. It's just how to fill it in with all that wonderful stuff like, this is my art, and everybody has little things, and I don't have any little things. I'm thingless in the Twitch world. All right. Let's see, we're not being super anal about this. Just trying to get it to where we'll group this and get rid of it so we can get down in here to some of these parts. Control W, hit on here, and that, oop, once you have something hidden, you have to click on the part you want to disappear. Okay, so I did a miserable job, it seems. Let's undo that. I guess there's a point where not being anal and just being sloppy. That was that point everyone just witnessed. And we will witness me being sloppy and lazy all the time. Nope. Nope. Fail. Hey, yeah. I'm just using the lasso because I know that it'll go all the way through correctly. Aight. Getting there. My heckling department just left. Okay. Okay, let's try this again. Control W, go away. There we go. Okay, so W, yeah, that's fine. That is obviously a not fine. So really, are these our only issue? No, right here. Those need to be fit in there. All right, so let's do this. Drop that. Let's get trim dynamic. And we're just going to knock these bad boys down to where they're just nubs and see what that looks like. If they're just little external nubs, they won't have a problem filling. To be deadly honest, they shouldn't have a problem filling anyway. No, I like them there. Going well, and how are you doing? This is where our real issues are, I think. Let's fill this up. Just add another kind of little row there. Piece these out a little. Once again, these really shouldn't have any issues filling because they're not going anywhere. They're just little nubs. But we will knock them back some. Why is my clay tubes acting funny? So that is not how clay tubes are supposed to be behaving. That's annoying. Let's just use this. Trim dynamic's really good for knocking edges off. You can see that this was not done symmetrically front to back, which is a wee bit annoying. Make these a wee bit pointier. Alright, those are more pointy, and now we'll just start here. And we will fill these bad boys up some. Just make this transition a little fatter and smoother. And we'll fill this up down to here. So we're at our 0.9 millimeters or more right there. Okay. Sometimes you have to start from a little crack so it doesn't fold over itself while you're doing it. Right, We'll come back up after we re-dynamesh this. See how that's acting funny? It's acting like there's something behind it, and there's just not. Weird. Don't know what to say. It should be filling fine. But we got a little lumpiness here. So we're going to re-dynamesh and get my settings right. Yep, I don't really have any answers for that one. Oh. Yeah, I do. I now know why it's acting badly. It's acting badly because our focal shift is all the way down over there. Much better. I must have tapped it when we had this up. Good. Also, we have these filling in. These got a little thin, so we want to come back in and beef that up just a touch. Beef that up a touch. See how these were too close when it dynameshed the last time, so it filled those up. Right. Okay, that's good. So, nope, wrong button. If there are any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'm just sitting here yabbering to myself. I'm jealous Ashley has such an active group of people. Oh, they heckle her constantly. Come on. Alright, what just happened? Alright, here we are. It's dark back there, so I keep not seeing it, touching it. Right. You see I'm starting from the center there? That prevents mesh overlap on a horrible scale. We'll come back and make this nice, like I said, once we've re-dynameshed. Start from the center, kind of work your way up. Alrighty. Yeah, I think that's well within our range. Let's fill that up. Well, in all kinds of ways. I mean, you can use stones as color, and I like using stones as color in the sense of I'm not too worried about stone value. I'm much more interested in the graphic image I'm getting off of it, you know, and playing those colors against one another. There are some finishes, like on this stuff, we're going to have this PVD'd in titanium, and just get some interesting, irregular sort of finishes. I don't really care about perfect finishes. I want interesting finishes. So we're playing with the factory right now on what we can get out of the finishes. And so really, I mean, now there's always enamel, but enameling's tricky to do really well. It takes a lot of practice, and usually it's easier to get someone who knows how to do enameling to teach you to do enameling, so you don't reinvent the wheel. But you know, plique de jour, you can blend a lot of colors wonderfully, and well, just plique de jour is just stunning if it's done right. I think it's probably one of the most interesting and exciting ways to deal with color in jewelry. But either you're dealing with stones, dyes, their stains form metal, or enameling. And like I said, when enameling's done right, I think it's probably one of the most exquisite things out there. I mean, just look up Lalique and you'll see like apex plique de jour. It doesn't get any better than that. And his color theory is spectacular. My throat, a little sketchy. Excuse me. All right. Yeah, enamel is as sexy as it gets if it's done well. Or as cheap as it gets if it's done poorly, you know. Poorly done enameling is not sexy. Not sexy. Now you can see that at the end of the day, I'm not worrying too much about these being the same. Having a little bit of variety breaks up your symmetry. And once again, if you haven't heard me say it a billion times, slight symmetry problems or slight contrived symmetry problems keep the eye active on the part because our brains are trained to recognize symmetry. And so if you have symmetry and then you break symmetry slightly, and especially if you're breaking it in a way to get the eye traveling, the brain will spend a lot more time trying to figure out what's going on, and it gives you more like face time on the part, I guess you could say. You know, people are spending time looking at your part and trying to figure it out, and a lot of time that's really subconscious stuff, and but it's what creates interesting, fascinating pieces, you know. And that works for everything. I mean, miniatures to jewelry to furniture, you know, it creates a little bit more visual interest for your brain to work on. That's not good. Does everyone out there know what I mean by plique de jour? It's where you melt enamel into the open spaces of a frame. So let's say we were going to pleature this, we would melt glass or enamel into these little holes. But you can get just some mind-bendingly, spectacularly beautiful things with it. And so this is the tedium of actually prepping parts for printing or for production. The print could have dealt with this detail. Well, the print did deal with this detail, but the casting facility's waxer wasn't quite up to par. Well, I'm sure it's a perfectly good cast or wax machine, but unfortunately these take a little bit of more work than that, unfortunately. I design stuff that is hard to produce. That's the fun of it for me. My casting facility hates my guts, I'm sure, but all right. It sort of looks okay. Give us our parts back. Let's dynamish. Okay, now let's go in and clean this stuff up. Now, don't cause me grief. So these were not symmetrical because I used the rotation tool. So we're going to be going back and forth a lot here, I think. Everything was going so well. Okay. Hopefully this is excuse me. Hopefully this doesn't get worse as we go on. And at some point we'll come back with SK trim and just tap these down to get rid of some of that lumpiness. I'll make nice, clean, flat, reflective surfaces. We'll clean up as we go. I want that to be flatter. I don't want that noise in there. This is bowed. That would be just my luck. A little bit, isn't it? What do you mean by leveling? All right. Since this is going to be a pain in the butt, we are just going to smooth everything out and redo it. because we're going to be fighting with the stuff not quite being right. And unfortunately at this point I've changed this part enough that I can't use my radial symmetry. See, these are getting thin. Take inflate, and we're just going to inflate those little holes back up. We're going to change that a little just so it's thicker. Okay. Everybody there? Aye. We'll just go by and do these first, and these will identify where our problems are going to be. And you can see I'm not being super careful here, because once again, I don't mind if these are a little different. They're close enough that you're going to have to look at it to notice that it's not perfectly the same. And everybody keep their fingers crossed that the other side is sort of at the same level. Otherwise I'm going to cry. Okay, that's good. Nothing super weird. All right. Sit. Let those just fill these in. And this will come back in and cut that ridge back in, but what this is doing is wherever there were like little transitional issues, right, we can come in and just sort of fill it in, and that's going to homogenize all these to where we're not doing wacky crap that's going to be annoying. So this might be the lower side. See how they're not the same? Whatever we did, let me just make sure that we are in the center of the universe. No, X. Whenever you have this happen where you try to go to the center of your object and it doesn't go. Hello! Man, I can barely even... That green is hard to see. That's crazy. Windstaff? Sorry. Oh, hello! Parts are higher than others. Well, I mean, if we're looking at it this way, these parts are distinctly higher than others. Is that what you're talking about? Sorry, I'm not... X, center, straighten. Oh. Yeah, this was just me not being right. The joys of not being right. Okay, that's a lot of... I mean, we're trying to... Well, that's a bunch of India. I'm still not quite sure exactly what we're talking about there. Sorry. I mean, these are obviously different levels. These are earrings, so they're fairly simplistic forms. Here, let's go to this side and see if it is filling that side. I think it is. When you have things that are off symmetry, I mean, you can sit there and futz with it forever, or you can just muscle it into form. Okay, so let's try it from this side. Because one of the sides is closer to camera than the other. So in turn, when you do it here, it should feel. Why is. Oh. Okay. You have to turn symmetry on for that to work. Let's get back here. All right, close enough. All right. So let's try that again. Fill in that crack. See how much. See how off center that is? That's annoying. This is why you never really want to go back and deal with this, because it sucks. Okay. So this is the side we need to work off of. And like I said, I'm not too stressed about making things super symmetrical. It builds visual interest. Alright, okay. Well, that's going to change when we do this anyway, so. Okay, we're filling. Das ist gut. Because even in finishing, I'm not so anal about the rotation. Why these were correct was because we were, when I built them, I did it in radial symmetry, so I got them all the same. But that's also why the z-axis was not on center, because I had to do them, you know, I had to do this side and then flip and do this side. So we didn't wind up with a z symmetrical object. Okay. Let's get these in. So I'm just trying to go back and find my form. All right, everybody there. Everybody there. Kind of. Right. Close enough to spit on. You can see why this one's going to be a nightmare, because everything's too friggin' thin. So we're avoiding that one. Yeah, it's not hard. It just you forget, like you know, you start working and then you're like, oh yeah, I gotta communicate. And then when people don't talk, it's actually funny. It's almost worse when people don't talk because you're like, oh my god, is everyone asleep? I have bored everyone to death. And once again, just start your cleanup in multiple steps. We're not going to be too stressed here. Tap with the smooth just to get that back into place. Get all your mesh sort of relaxed into it. Alright, everyone's getting a little better. Those are substantially taller than the other ones, aren't they? Let's smooth this out real quick. Get rid of that chatter that's from decimation. That chatter doesn't matter in the model for the most part, as long as it's fairly small. If you've decimated, you know, into 100,000 polys, for the most part, that's more than enough for the printer, because you have to remember, we can see in ZBrush substantially more definition than good. I'm glad we're not bored. Yeah, so in this case, I'm going to inflate that together. Now I want a little raised element here. We're going to deal with that a little bit more after our Dynamesh. All right. Not bad. Let's look at what we have here. See, that's just one simple line. So we'll kind of head back in that direction. This is crap. Ugly, ugly, ugly. And honestly, a lot of this stuff is super tiny, so it doesn't matter if we simplify as we're going along. So now we'll try to do a little bit more conscientious detailing here. We now have everything on the same, oops, that's not it, on the same level. So as I come in here and do this, it's a noisy mesh. All that clippity clop. I should be able to lay this down fairly smooth, but it's kind of fighting me. Let's just make sure we're doing it on both sides. No weirdnesses. Good. Alright, so we should turn this down a little. That helps some. Alright. Noisy meshes. A little annoying. That's okay. Normally I would sit here and fiddle with this forever, but I have worked on these models so long that I'm done. I'm so done. So we are not going to be so fastidious, I don't think. We'll see what happens after the Dynamesh. Not bad. This point's a little soft. Those are too thin. You can always check on your thicknesses here. Those aren't bad. Not great. Not bad. I don't really have enough mesh in here to do what I want to do. So that needs to be Dynamesh. These need to be full. Come back, fill everything in. Just make sure everything you want to go is going to go. We'll re-Dynamesh again. Unfortunately, when you're trying to get nice clean edges, having a lot of geometry obviously helps. So we are going to divide this sucker because that just was not enough geometry for me. There we go. It's probably better. Go away. Nope, not what I wanted to do. Alright, going to be a pain in the butt, I see. Come on. Mask. Little intersections. Hide part. I agree. I think that too much symmetry can be pure crappus. And it's one of my major complaints with like the ZBrush Rhino stuff is that, or Matrix, and that's such, see how much smoother these lines are with that geometry. Is that you can't go back and give it hand touch. You know, it'll never have touch. Where here we can really come in, establish nice lines, and they're going to be close enough that from at a distance you'll never see it. You'll never see the lack of symmetry. But here, right, you know, these will read fine from a distance. And then as you start to look at them, that's why I often leave like strokes in things so they actually look like they're hand done. Or I'll get it done and I'll go back in and futz with it and leave touch, you know, basically leave fingerprints in the part. So I find that people get excited when they start to look at things closer and they're not quite exactly what they thought they were. And those are exciting stories. Right. Those will read. That should read. I'll come back in, clean it up a touch, so it's not sloppy. That gives you nice bright corners. And come in here. A little bigger. Saving. Yeah, Art Nouveau is my thing. I love it. I coined the phrase acid nouveau. Sort of, it's trippy Art Nouveau. And that'll be a site soon. Trying to get all my ducks in a row here is a nightmare. Because anyone who knows me knows I just love social media. I'll give you a nice reflection. Come back in here. Hit this. Just kind of roll over the tip there so the tip's actually coming up. It just makes that edge a little brighter. Not doing a good job of talking along tonight, am I? Kind of have. It's been a slow brain day for me. Come back in and just make sure your corners are sharp, because that stuff does read. It can be sloppy with a lot of things, but if your corners are sloppy, then they don't read as what you're trying to get across. They read soft, and soft corners are no good.